if there's one thing that's synonymous with a case swap, it's a super duper big front mount intercooler. And that's what we're gonna install today on this 944 K24 swap. If you're just tuning in, I'm case swapping a Porsche 944. Now in the last episode, I was finally able to mount the engine in the car, and now it's time to begin buttoning things up so that I can fire this thing up for the first time. Today, I'm gonna begin with intercooler and intercooler piping install. So on these 944s, you have this big bulbous metal thing. Now what I'm gonna do is chop the interior of this bumper so that, and I already clearanced down here last week. It's gonna go like so, fit perfectly snug, and then essentially it's gonna hang out just like this and probably get bolted down into here. Let's get the cutting. You know, maybe I'll just take this off. Yeah. Let me just do this on the ground where it's gonna be substantially easier. The problem we're running into is that these brackets that hold up this front bumper onto these studs here, it's getting in the way. Oh, right, they compress those. That's progress. This intercooler is far too large for anything going on right here. I'm trying to figure out a solution. I might even put it under this nose plate, but then there's not gonna be any space for the hood latch. There's not gonna be any space for the headlights to pop up and down. Ferdinand Porsche hates me right now. I'm determined. What if I just got rid all the way of all these brackets? I mean, that could kind of work. If it fits, it fits, right? I've clearanced this enough for it to actually fit on the front of my 944. And I'm also now realizing I lost the hardware that came with this intercooler, so that's great. Yeah, we'll figure something out. I have approximate mounting points that I'm gonna use. It's gonna live somewhere right here. Why is this being in the way? There it is. Boom, it'll look kind of like that. So what I'm going to do is start to drill from below into this nose panel because I, for some reason, can't get my headlights open to be able to access the other bolts that hold this nose panel in. See, it's flopping around. Not great, but this is what I have to work with. We've made our drilling points, roughly. Let's drill. Size check again. Golden. That hole's a little off. Oh, come on. Come on. Oh, come on, bro. Race car. I got some more spare hardware. And I drilled some holes on top of this nose panel. And believe it or not, it's a perfect fit. As long as I don't drop anything. I don't think that's going anywhere. Hey man, that's pretty sick. That looks pretty good. All right, now we have to come up with a solution on how to get the rest of that bumper on. Because after all, I do still have no blinkers on there. We need blinkers. All right, well, glasses back on, we cut more. That's one side, see how it fits. So we have got ourselves a front mount intercooler. Now I'm just figuring out what to do with all these pockets right here. I've kind of found a solution. I'm basically taking these bits of this front bumper assembly and taking out the blinkers with the whole bracket and everything, and maybe I'll 3D print something to go right here. Maybe they could be some type of air vents to go towards the back of the tire there or into the brakes. A lot of things that I could do with these vents here, so I'll figure that out later on. For now, I want to try to figure out, or at least mock up, how the intercooler piping is going to go through here and then through there, through the fenders and everything. The way I mounted up this front mount intercooler was there's a bolt down there and down there. I got it somewhere off of the old 944 engine. And then if you look in here, I have these 6mm bolts from the head of the 944 motor. The nice thing about when you're doing a turbo swap on something is that oftentimes most cars, I say most, not all of them, they have intake ports, or rather intake pipe ports, already built into the chassis, into the frame, whatever. In this case, for example, on the front end, right behind the overflow tank for the coolant, there's already a hole where the stock air tube used to live. That's where we're gonna start feeding the intercooler piping through, on that side at least. This is the first piece of intercooler piping I was playing with the other day, and I don't even remember how the hell I got it in. What, somewhere like this? That's in. But see, that's way too long. We don't need all that. So now we have to create some kind of like 45-degree type of turn, which I think I have a solution for. This kit that I bought comes with a 45-degree. Now obviously we're gonna have to shorten it here and here, but again, that's what my bead roller is for, so that I could shorten these things, create a nice bead, so that my silicone hoses aren't popping off when I'm popping VTech. So that's gonna live. Here's my other situation, is that initially I took off the blinker lights here because the pipe wasn't fitting with the depth of the turn signals. Now, I got some halo lights that I will be installing here once I figure out how to make my lights work again, but they have turn signals built in, so I can actually avoid reinstalling these blinker lights. That being said, now I'm gonna have more clearance to put my intercooler piping in, and that's exactly what I'm gonna use it for. So I think what I'm gonna do is start marking here and start making some cuts. Got my first piece here cut, nice bead. Gonna feed this in, and then realize I probably cut it too short. Whoops. I mean, that's gonna be snug. If you look inside, that's pretty much on the chassis right there, but I mean, I think it'll hold. Quite happy with how it looks, that's for sure. It's definitely that like JDM boy racer, whatever. Now, note to self, but also to you guys watching, you can't see in here, but there's definitely shavings in here. Clean these pipes out before you actually install them in your car. You don't want metal shavings in or around your engine anywhere. This little short pipe right here is the cutoff from that 45 angle down there. The reason I'm not using this entire pipe is because at some point we're gonna need to install a blow-off valve, and I'm waiting for that adapter still in the mail. For now, let's just maybe play with the fitment of this guy here. The only problem is, how the hell am I supposed to attach that coupler? So it would live like that. Enough space for the headlight to go up and down, that's good. And the pipe can go right here. We need a blow-off valve, and then 45 or a 90 turn right here to go into the throttle body. Guess I'll grind this down, make it nice and pretty, and then roll the bead. Let's take a look at what we can concoct here. I know the bead has been rolled. I gotta take a moment right now and stress to you that the bead roller is not an optional tool to buy for such a swap. You have to get one, you have to make a proper bead on your intercooler piping. Otherwise, you're gonna have silicone couplers popping off, and you're just gonna have a horrible time driving. This setup, just to get that one hose clamp right in there. I cut off too much on this pipe. Now I admit it. Oh, maybe I didn't. Nope. Cut off just the right amount. JDM, bro. All right, let's get a Guten tight on there. So look at that. Obviously, we're gonna have a little rubbing here, maybe. We're onto the passenger side of the intercooler piping, and this is gonna be a little different of a routing because unlike the 45-degree bend over there, I'm gonna have to probably hook a 90 and go all the way straight down, because ultimately the intercooler pipe is gonna go towards the wheel, but kind of at an angle towards the wheel, and then it's gonna make another U at the bottom and then connect to the cool side of the turbo. I'm thinking though, if I cut it somewhere down in the middle, I could kind of not have too much protrusion right here, and I could tuck it directly next to this this frame right here. Maybe that's what I'll try doing, or maybe even a little bit more than like a 100-degree angle, because then it could really cut under there. I wanna make it as tucked and efficient as possible. I also wanna use my tools, so let me get started on that. Somewhere like that. I mean, that's not even that bad. Look at that. What a beauty. What an absolute beauty. Now it's time to install the turbo. What I have right here is a Precision 5858 turbo. This should be the perfect size for the power goals I want, but also it should spool nice and quickly because I do want that low end grunt, especially paired with this torquey K24 motor. Should do the trick. Got my V-band clamp here. I'm gonna grab turb ski line it up. Yeah, that's gonna be nice, perfect. Just to snug it. Normally that would hurt, but thanks to today's sponsor, I'm unscathed. And that's because I'm wearing my Brunt boots. Thanks to Brunt, I now have comfortable work boots that are broken in right out the box. They've got comfortable cushion and support, breathable materials, and Brunt's very own signature cushion footbed. They're also water resistant, oil resistant, and super durable. If your project car has you feeling in the dumps and you want to kick it, you can. Unscathed. And the best thing is, it's great value for how much boot you get. If you're looking for a new work boot, make sure to get some Brunts by using our $10 off coupon from your first purchase. And if you don't like them, just send them back. I doubt you're gonna send them back though, you're gonna love them. Anyways, let's get back to this car. Victory is mine, for now. So if you guys remember in an earlier episode, I was talking about the angle at which your turbo sits is very crucial because you don't want too much angle. Otherwise, your oil feed and return won't be at an optimal level angle to be able to feed and drain the oil out of the turbo, causing oil backup, oil starvation, things that you don't want happening to your turbo system or your engine as a whole. I'm trying to figure this out now. Obviously, the car is jacked up. It is at an angle, but this almost looks like a little too much of an angle for me to feel comfortable with the way that it's sitting. I think what I'm gonna have to do is take this part of my turbo manifold, twist it clockwise a little bit, and then see what that does for me, because I'm also trying to be cognizant of the clearance down here for the inevitable downpipe, but also our oil filter. Another thing worth pointing out is I need to reclock this turbo, because as you can see, this right here will not work. Cold side outlet is going straight into the frame, so I'm gonna need to spin it counterclockwise like 90 degrees. I'm not about to do another explainer of how all the turbo clocking works. Refer to episode 2 where I clocked the turbo originally, but basically you loosen a couple retainers, a couple bolts, spin to the direction which your turbo should live at, and then retighten. Dare I say, the fitment gods have spared me this time. Although I did have to clearance this whole frame right here with a sledgehammer. I think we'll have just enough clearance for a downpipe somewhere down there. So now that I know where the turbo is gonna live, it's a good time to start connecting the intercooler piping to the turbo itself. All right, let's see if we can marry the turbo to our charge pipe here. I had this piece that I pre-cut earlier. Oh, nice. I love a good fit. Got our silicone couplers here. All right, so that's the problem. I need a tighter clamp or a 2 to 2.5 inch adapter. At least I can adapt these two. Now I fully well know that the less bends the better when it comes to airflow, but this is about the only routing option I had other than going into the nose panel. That settles that. All right, now I just gotta get a coupler that's 2 to 2.5 inches. And then I can join the turbo to the charge piping. One thing that I have to install before the intake manifold is a blow-off valve. This right here is a coupler specifically to accept an HKS SSQV. Off camera, I took a little break and I went parts hunting in the back of the shop here. This elbow right here, this is off of 300ZX. Reduce, reuse, recycle, I guess. If I can make this all work, that would be insane. What I did was essentially try to change the angle of the smaller side of this hose. I did a very crude cut, but you know what? If it holds fine, if the clamp goes over it and it seals fine, I don't care how it looks. We've gotten to this point, we're kind of mocking it up. I basically just need to mate these two hose clamps here, which I can easily do so with this piece. I don't think anything is going to interfere here with the hood. What I want to do is clearance the silicone hose just so that it's a little bit away from the coolant overflow tank. And then I won't really have to worry about any type of this hose clamp melting and causing a massive boost leak. Don't want that. Goes into the throttle body, weaves around. This is going to be the blow-off valve here. Goes down there, out to the front. It's all hidden behind that bumper. Through there, up and into the turbo it'll go. I'm going to clean some things up, and I do still have to get a piece of silicone adapter to be able to adapt that charge pipe to the turbo. So I'm going to work on that behind the scenes. Got myself another piece from the back. This should be a perfect coupling from the turbo to the intercooler piping. Now you can kind of see here that my bend wasn't exactly perfect, nor was my angle, but there was just enough flexibility for me to be able to mate these 2 points together and have a completed intercooler setup. Hey, for a first time, I feel like that's pretty good, no? I'm pretty happy with that. The next thing on my agenda was to plumb up my radiator hoses, so I got those out. And what a lot of aftermarket people say is some S2000 hoses. The longer top hose is going to be back there in the back of the block now. The shorter one goes down in there. I think this is the top one. Yeah, that one makes sense. Now I'm not going to showcase every single nook and cranny that I had to go through to be able to run these hoses, but just know that I was successful in my feat for the most part. As tight as it'll get. Oh, we got to figure out how exactly it's going to work up front, because it has to go to this port right here. We don't have enough. Fortunately, I knew that I would run into this issue in the future, so I preemptively bought a couple couplers to be able to adapt the old hoses to the new ones. Basically, Porsche is 1.5 inch diameter, Honda is 1.25 inch diameter, so I got these couplers preemptively for something like this. Just under there is the lower radiator hose input, so what I can do, get this guy on, and with a little more finagling, just like that, the lower radiator hose was attached to the engine. Now to figure out the routing here, so it would complete it by doing a bend, just like that. With a little bit of MacGyvering that I learned from doing the upper radiator hose, I now had a completely plumbed radiator to engine coolant system. I think there's maybe the overflow tank that I still had to do, but I'll get there in the future before the first start. It's another day here at the shop, and we are continuing work on this Porsche 944 here. This morning's objective is going to be to create a downpipe from scratch. Not daunting at all or anything, because I've never really welded anything in my life before. But for the most part, after watching a bunch of YouTube videos, I understood that prep is the most important. It's not the prettiest, but it's gonna work. I don't know about you, but today feels like a great day to start routing my engine harness. So this right here came from K-Power Industries, and this is technically meant for a Miata. It's already pre-cut lengths and everything, but we're going to hope that it reaches all the sensors I need it to in my configuration. Now, while I was at it, I also decided to go a little overkill and add some McLaren F1 tech to my engine swap. And by that, I mean gold foil heat-resistant wrap, which I put around a bunch of the wiring that's going to be very close to the downpipe, as well as the valve cover itself to be able to protect it from any and all excessive heat. And once I was finally feeling like I was about to start this car, I started filling up the oil, made sure my power was running to the car, to the harness, and I tried to crank it over. And this is where my issues begin. These old O-rings are still leaking. And I got some new ones, which I will be installing, but first things first, being as this is a budget option K-Series fuel rail, I need to clean up the edges of it, because these are known to have sharp edges, which cut O-rings. And in my case, I think that's the main problem here, at least as it pertains to all the fuel leaking out. After fiddling with the injectors and fixing 90% of the fuel leaks, I then went back to the ECU into my ignition and still could not figure out what was wrong with my ECU wiring. Google, best friend. No ignition. want to say I'm defeated, but also very hopeful right now at the same time. So it's obvious we're getting air and fuel because there's plenty of fuel leaking out, and there's definitely air trying to get through, hence why the turbine is spinning over. So that's great. Now I'm going to check for spark coming out of my spark plugs. I wonder if it's like my grounds or something. If you look at this ground and that ground, that's coming straight off the harness. So, and I know oftentimes there's a ground that goes to here. Unfortunately, folks, that's where I'm gonna have to leave off on this episode because I am completely stuck. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but this car just does not want to start. What I'm seeking right now is the community. I need the car community to come help me. So if you live in the tri-state area, the car is in New Jersey, in northern New Jersey specifically, I'm happy to communicate with you privately. I'm happy to pay for your time to come out and help me get this car started. This isn't just for me. This isn't just for the channel. This is truly for the culture, for the car culture, the community. I really, really, really believe in this swap. I know it's possible. This is not something that hasn't ever been done, technically speaking. It's just in my particular case, it's not working, and I need your help. So this is a public cry. This is a PSA to anyone out there watching. If you're a wiring guru, if you know K-swaps, please come help me. I beg you. I will pay for your time. I can't pay you a ton because I'm paying for this whole project out of pocket. Please just come help me. I beg you. That's going to be it for the episode. Unfortunately, I didn't get it started this time. I really hope after this PSA goes out, one of you viewers, at least one of you, will come out and help me. Thank you so much for watching. I'll check you on the next one. Peace out.